In this video, I'm going to take a look at the noise functions that are found in Affinity Photo's procedural texture filter. When I first started looking at the documentation, I was sort of overwhelmed by the large number of noise functions that are available for you to use in this software. And there was very little documentation on exactly what they did. So I thought I'd write a formula or an equation here that would enable me to compare the different noise functions. So the noise functions I'm going to look at in this video are noisei, noise, noisesc, noisesin, noisecs, and noisecubic. And so the function I wrote, or the equation that I wrote, is pretty large here. One of the problems with programming in this procedural texture thing is you have to fit everything on one line. So here it is. So I start with a 2 vector of Rx and Ry divided by W. So I sort of am scaling the pixels to the size of the width of the document. And then I have A, B, and C, D, E, and F, the default factors, multiplied by each of the functions. And then I scale the size of the grid by 20 because it turns out that would be a good size to show me sort of what's going on with the pixels in here as you apply these different functions. And then I set up sliders for going from 0 to 1 for each of these control or custom inputs, A, B, and C, etc. So I can turn them off and on, and I created presets for each of these so I can quickly snap between them. So let's take a look at that. So I've got my, I call it noise compare. I set this in there, and I'll put this formula or this equation in the description for this video. So the first one is noisei, and this is what I think of when I think of noise. Just random values that are, each pixel is just a random number between 0 and 1, and it colors it. If it's 0, it's black. If it's 1, it's white, and all the other values are grayscales in between there. So every pixel is different. And that one is called noisei, it turns out. Now, one of the other things I notice is there's a whole collection of harmonic functions, not just the noise, but oscillators. There's all these harmonic functions. And I think I found out the difference with those is they go from -1 to 1 instead of 0 to 1. So if it's a regular function, it'll generate values from 0 to 1. If it's a harmonic function, it generates values from -1 to 1. All right, so that's the first one. Let's look at the next one. This one is just called noise. Now, if I look at this, when I switch between these two, I notice this little shift between them, here and then there. And especially if I look at this pixel right here, this dark one, it's shifted up this way. So I think that gives me a clue as to what's going on with this function, noise. If I look at these points, I believe those are the corners of the pixel. And what it's doing here is it's creating a smooth square that gradually fades between these points. Sort of like if we're on a slope, like a sloped square, a sloped roof that gradually fades up to those points. Okay, so that seems like a reasonable approach for fading the noise between one level to the next. If I look at this, though, if I were going to use this to create some sort of image, it looks a little bit boxy. Now, if I was using it to shift, apply a shift to an XY coordinate, might be okay. But for, anyway, this one looks a little bit boxy compared to some of the others. The next one is called noisesc, and that stands for, they have a comment in the documentation that it stands for S curve. So it's an S curve. So let's look at that one. So this one is much smoother. I don't see those sharp points. If I go and compare that to regular noise, it seems like this creates those sharp edges, and this one is much smoother. So it's using an S-curve to sort of sweep between one pixel and the next. Now if I look at the next one is sine, and I can't see any difference between an S-curve and a sine, so I'm pretty sure that those are identical. You might have an S-curve that's not exactly sinusoidal in shape, but in this case I think these are both the same function. Okay, the next one I'm going to look at is actually, I'm going to skip CS. I'm going to go to cubic, and if I look at that one's the smoothest yet. This could almost be used for clouds. Very smooth. I mean, Perlin noise is better, but this is pretty close. So this is getting a very smooth noise function. Now I'm going to go back to noisecs. Okay, this one looks pretty much like my noisei function, but it's just a little bit blurry. So if I compared that and go back to the noisei, okay, it still has the shift in it, but it is just smoothed out just a little bit. So that's noisecs. So those are all the noise functions, or the first set that I looked at. And again, the equation, I'll leave a copy of the equation in the description for this video, but you'll have to create your own inputs. And I just created 6 inputs using the default value, and those are 0 to 1 inputs, and multiplied each of the noise functions by those. All right, thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any comments or questions.